It's good to be back with another message, and today I've entitled it, There Are Many Valleys to Cross. Joseph, the firstborn of Rachel, the 11th son of Jacob, is about him. Joseph's birth was an immense joy for Jacob, as Rachel, the wife he loved, had been barren for many years, and finally she was able to have a baby. Joseph was cherished and deeply loved by his mum and dad. This favouritism became immediately evident and was a source of constant tension to his brothers, for he was born into a family of bullies, rivalry, resentment, jealousy, and his brothers let him know it. From a young age he stood out among his siblings, not only because of Jacob's favouritism and preference for him, but also due to his personality and the dreams he had that set him apart. Jacob's affection was displayed openly when he gave Joseph a richly ornamented robe coat of many colours. This extravagant gift became a constant reminder he was Jacob's favourite, provoking feelings of bitterness and resentment among his older brothers. The situation was further inflamed by Joseph as a teenager, when he began to have vivid dreams, and after a dream he said, "Listen to this dream. We were out in the field tying up bundles of grain, and suddenly my bundle stood up, and all your bundles gathered round and bowed down before me." His brothers responded, "So you think you will be our king, do you? Do you really think you will reign over us?" And they hated him all the more because of his dreams and the way he talked about them. Soon he had another dream, and again he said to his family, "Listen, the sun and the moon and 11 stars bowed down before me." By Joseph sharing these dreams with his family, it only made them more bitter and more jealous. Jacob, who loved Joseph dearly, was taken aback by this dream, and he rebuked him. "What kind of dream is that? Is this symbolising your mother and me, and your brothers will all bow before you?" Inwardly, though, Jacob wondered why God was giving him these dreams, and also the meaning to Joseph. One day Jacob sent Joseph to check on his brothers as they tended their flocks far away. They saw him coming afar as he was wearing his distinctive coloured coat. As he approached, they saw an opportunity to rid themselves of this dreamer once and for all. The brothers conspired against him. "Here comes that dreamer," they sneered. "Come, let's kill him and throw him into one of these pits and say that a wild animal devoured him." Reuben, as the oldest brother, was Joseph's protector, so he intervened, convincing them not to kill Joseph outright, but to throw him into one of the pits. And later on he intended to come back and get Joseph out of the pit. But then Judah proposed a new plan. Rather than leaving Joseph to die in a pit, they should sell him to a group of traders passing by this way. They would be rid of him without shedding blood, and they could make a profit out of it as well. So all the brothers agreed to this. and Joseph was sold for 20 pieces of silver. He was betrayed by his own flesh and blood. They stripped him of his beloved robe and handed him over to the traders, who took him down to Egypt as a slave. The brothers concocted a cruel lie. They dipped his robe in goat's blood and brought it to their father and said, "Look, isn't this Joseph's coat?" Jacob was overcome with grief, believing that Joseph had been killed by a wild animal. Then Jacob tore his clothes, dressed in burlap, and mourned deeply for Joseph. His sorrow was so great that he refused to be comforted, declaring that he would go to his grave mourning his beloved son. Meanwhile, life took a dramatic turn in Egypt. Joseph was sold to Potiphar, an officer in Pharaoh's court, and he was captain of the palace guard. The Lord was with Joseph, giving him success in everything he did as he served his master. Joseph quickly proved himself to be a man of integrity, skill and wisdom, even as a slave. His ability set him apart, and Potiphar entrusted him with the management of his entire household and property. The Lord blessed Potiphar's household under Joseph's administration. All the duties in the household ran smoothly, and the crops and livestock flourished. There was no problems. But Joseph was about to enter another valley. Disaster was soon to strike again. Potiphar's wife, captivated by Joseph's youth and fitness, attempted to seduce him. "Come and sleep with me," she demanded. Because of his love, loyalty and fidelity to God and obedience to his commandments, he refused her advances. He also reminded her that she was Potiphar's wife. "How could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God?" Joseph declared. Because she was infuriated by his continual refusal to deny his Lord. Later on, you can read the whole story in Genesis 39, which tells the story that she concocted falsely, accusing him of assaulting her. And because of that, Joseph was thrown into prison. By outward appearance, he seemingly is abandoned again, but his Lord had not forgotten him, and Joseph's faith did not waver. In Genesis 39 and verse 21, the Lord was with Joseph in prison and showed him his faithful love. I will read that again. The Lord was with Joseph in prison and showed him his faithful love. And God will do the same for you. And then the Lord made Joseph a favourite with the prison warden, who put him in charge of other prisoners. Pharaoh's cupbearer and baker offended the king, so he threw them in prison, and the warden put them under the supervision of Joseph. And both of them had a dream. It was during this time that Joseph's gift for interpreting dreams came to light, when he correctly interpreted the dreams of these two palace officials. To the cupbearer, Joseph predicted restoration to his position, and for the baker, he would be executed. Both prophecies came to pass exactly as Joseph had said. Joseph asked the cupbearer, On your release from prison, will you remember me to Pharaoh? Because he wanted to be delivered from this unjust imprisonment. However, the cupbearer didn't remember Joseph. So he remained in prison for another 2 years. But his Lord was still with him. Soon he would see the unfolding of God's plan coming to fruition, not only in his life, but also in Jacob's whole family and the land of Egypt. Pharaoh began to have troublesome dreams that none of his wise men could interpret. Then the cupbearer finally remembered Joseph. He told Pharaoh about the young Hebrew in prison who had correctly interpreted his own dream. Pharaoh summoned Joseph, and in a single day his life changed forever. Joseph listened as Pharaoh described his dreams of 7 healthy cows being devoured by 7 lean ones, and at that point Pharaoh woke up, but he fell asleep again and had a second dream. 7 heads of grain, plump and beautiful, growing on a single stalk. Then 7 appeared that they were shriveled up and withered, and these 7 lean, swiveled up grains swallowed up the 7 plump, beautiful and healthy ones. Then Pharaoh woke up and realised he had been dreaming. Under the guidance of the Holy Spirit, Joseph interpreted the dreams. 7 years of abundance would be followed by 7 years of severe famine throughout the land. Impressed by Joseph's wisdom and insight, Pharaoh appointed him as second in command over all of Egypt. Only the king was above him. Once a slave and a prisoner, he was now given authority to oversee the collection and storage of grain during the 7 years of plenty, and to manage the distribution of that grain during the years of famine. Pharaoh gave Joseph a new name, and he married the daughter of a prominent Egyptian priest. His new position brought wealth, honour and power. He was 30 years old when he began serving in the courts of Pharaoh. Joseph's life journey is a testimony to the faithful love, mercy and grace God lavishes upon one who rests firmly in the hands of Jesus. Joseph, in complete surrender to his Lord, depending on Jesus' power and strength, came through all his valleys victorious. In Psalm 62 and verses 1 to 2, I read, I wait patiently before God, for my victory comes from him. Jesus alone is my rock and my salvation, my fortress, where I will never be shaken. My friends, invite Jesus into your heart today. Take this promise with you down deep in your heart, and like Joseph, we will come through all our valleys victorious, because Jesus is walking us through them.